What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about and analyzing the Chiefs versus the Houston Texans in the divisional round, the Arrowhead Invitational. Do the Texans have a chance to defeat this Chiefs team? And just some background, you might already know this, but ever since Patrick Mahomes became Kansas City's starting quarterback, they have never lost the first playoff game they've played. They've been to the playoffs every time. And that also applies to this divisional round. They've never lost it before when they were the one seed. So to put that in perspective, he's been the starter since 2018. They've been the one seed four times. They've gone 4 for 4. So this year they're the one seed again, making this the fifth time. And the Houston Texans are going to Arrowhead, and they are going to try to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. Try to make them go 4 for 5, which is a crazy stat. It's why the Chiefs are a dynasty. Obviously, going to 4 Super Bowls over that period and winning 3. So it's going to be challenging. Not to say all hope is lost. I do like some aspects of this matchup from the Texans' point of view, which I'll get into very shortly. But really, the first thing I want to do is start this video by looking at the matchup that already took place this year. That was week 16. It was in Arrowhead, as you guys probably remember. Houston Texans ended up losing 19-27 to the Kansas City Chiefs. And to give a little bit of context on the Texans side of things, the starting O-line entering that game was LT at left tackle, Titus Howard at guard, Patterson at center, Shaq Mason, and then Blake Fisher. This was Blake Fisher's first game starting as a right tackle. It might have been Miami, but I'm pretty sure this was the first game where he started as a starter. And if you'll also remember, Shaq Mason got hurt pretty early on into this game, meaning Kendrick Green had to come in, not Kenyon. Kendrick Green had to come in at right guard because Juice Scruggs was injured. So Juice Scruggs wasn't available to play. That's why Patterson was at center. So this was a very shaky O-line for us, and it got even shakier once Kendrick Green got the opportunity after Shaq Mason. So that's kind of some context to kind of start this video off. One other thing I'll say about the Chiefs is they were also kind of experimenting with their offensive line. Joe Thuney, who's Hall of Fame lineman. I mean, seriously, he's played every position on the line. He was starting at left tackle, and that was a big area of concern. I think the Achilles heel of this Chiefs team this year has been their offensive line, specifically their protection. And so Joe Thuney making that move, definitely a lot of people started to notice that, and they started to wonder if he could be a left tackle. Spoiler alert, the offensive line played extremely well, which again, I'll talk about more later. Their offensive line completely outplayed our defensive line. But let's just get straight into a brief recap of this game. The Texans started the ball, got the ball to start the game. The drive ultimately ends with the CJ Stroud interception on the first drive. And, all week you've been hearing, and even now you're hearing, you cannot turn the ball over this Kansas City team. You cannot make mistakes like that because they'll take advantage of them. Well, Stroud throws an interception on the first play of the game, or the first drive of the game. And I'm sure he heard those same things. I'm sure he was frustrated with himself. Just sucks to throw a pick on the first drive. So the Chiefs get it. They march down. We actually stop them. It's about a 4th and 1 deep in our own territory. They elect to go for it, and they get it. And I bring this up to mention, they converted a 4th down on their opening drive now after the interception. But B, it was Hollywood Brown who actually converted that for a first down. So this game versus the Texans was Hollywood Brown's first game with the Chiefs. That was his first reception, converting that 4th and 1. Because if you'll remember, he was injured for so much of the season. He didn't play until week 16. He had a really injury that happened in preseason. So we finally got to see Hollywood Brown in a Chiefs uniform. He had limited snaps when he played us, but that was a memorable snap, just converting that first down. So this is also, if you'll remember, the time where there was a Phantom Mahomes ankle injury where he had a high ankle sprain. Not true at all. He was fine. And I know he was fine because he ended that first drive rushing for like 30 yards, scored a touchdown, gets popped by Christian Harris, but it doesn't affect him. Yeah, he's in the end zone. He scores. It's already 7-0. So something that I noticed about this game this first kind of meeting with the Chiefs is that Mahomes ended up using his legs a decent amount. Definitely felt like overall our secondary coverage was pretty decent. There's some caveats to that I'll talk about, but I don't think D'Amico Ryans was prepared to see Mahomes run around as much as he did, which I know that's shocking because it's Mahomes. And don't get me wrong, they definitely game planned for it. But I didn't feel like we had a spy on him too many points in the game, and that might be something that D'Amico will want to change, getting to play this team again. So anyway, the Texans respond with a field goal, so it's 7-3. And at this point, you're thinking, "Wow, Tank Dell's having an extremely good game." He's been in the offense on the first drive that ended with the interception. He's been making plays to leading up to this field goal, and and then they respond again with a touchdown to Dalton Schultz. So CJ Stroud, you're starting to realize, is playing really good this game, minus that first interception. It's 10-7 Texans early in the second quarter. So the Chiefs score again to make it 10-14. And at this point is when I'm really realizing that our defensive front is having no effect on Mahomes. Like Mahomes was not pressured, he was barely pressured the first time we played the Chiefs, which was surprising. I mean, they're a banged up offensive line. They've had protection issues the whole season. At that point, Mahomes was one of the most hit quarterbacks in the league. Faced a lot of pressure. You're rearranging pieces on the line, similar to the Texans almost in a similar situation. And our elite edge rushers are getting essentially no pressure on Mahomes. That was really surprising. Dell has back-to-back great catches after that. Again, it's currently 10-14. We're at the Chiefs 40, and then unfortunately that drive ends with another Stroud interception. He seemed to kind of dunk it down at the feet of a receiver to try to get closer field goal range, and the D-back makes an incredible play, catches it, intercepts it. And that's when you're starting to realize, okay, we have two interceptions. This is not looking great. For Stroud to throw that, it was pretty brutal to watch. So the Chiefs, being the Chiefs, are able to steal another 3 points, and so that interception basically leads to the score being 10-17 at halftime. So again, can't have two interceptions in the first half against this good of a Chiefs team. It's just the reality. I think everyone can agree with that at this point. So the third quarter, the Chiefs get the ball because we got the ball to start the game, and they go 3-and-out. And we get the ball and we score that costly touchdown. So Tank Dell goes down. He's out for the season, somehow holds on to the ball. And I'm going to stop the recap here because, and I've talked about this earlier, I really feel like at this point in the season, especially the game, but really in the season, this to me was the play that kind of broke the Texans' spirit. Watching Tank Dell get that injury, friendly fire by that other receiver who's on the practice squad, I forget his name. But yeah, he was, it crushed their spirits. And I was vocal about this on my YouTube channel when it happened. I was like, if we're first round exits, you will be able to point to that play and you'll be able to say that's the reason, like that's what broke this team this season. But we're not first round exits. I'll get into that later. So yeah, Tank Dell was having easily the best day of his season. He finished with a touchdown and over 100 yards, and he barely played in the third quarter. He was starting to look like 2023 Tank Dell again. And that injury took him out. You knew it was bad. Stroud's, crying on the sideline, whole team, acting like their grandfather died. And I understand it was traumatic, but you just knew at this point we weren't winning the game. And I knew, especially after Fairbairn misses that extra point, it's 16-17. You're just thinking, yeah, there's no way we're winning this game. Not with the momentum swing that happened, albeit because of an insane and terrible injury, but still. I didn't think we were going to win after that. So anyway, to recap some of the takeaways that I got from that game and kind of comparing them to where the Texans are now. So our O-line is a lot better than it was in that Chiefs game. Shaq Mason is not a good football player anymore, and he got injured and brought in Kendrick Green, who played pretty much equally as bad, like maybe slightly better, but pretty bad. But our offensive line right now is a lot better, and they've proven that. They've been able to protect C.J. Stroud better. Had concerns about the run game, but the second half against the Chargers game really looked like they were able to figure out some things on the ground as well. So this is the best version of the Texans line, and it's the only major difference is instead of having Kendrick Green, who went in for Shaq Mason, you have Juice Scruggs, who's back from his injury, and he's now in there, and Blake Fisher's still starting at the right tackle spot. So Yeah, that was definitely something that I noticed was that offensive line got a lot better and the quarterback protection got a lot better. And I'd like to lie to you and say that those Stroud interceptions just happened because he was under a lot of pressure. Not really true. And we kind of saw that again in this Chargers game. Stroud throws what could have been easily two picks, one for sure, but that second one by Derwin James gets called back. He easily could have had two interceptions. Thankfully, one doesn't count. And neither of those happened when he was under pressure. Like, at least you could make the argument for Herbert that he was under a lot of pressure and that's why he was turning the ball over. For Stroud, you couldn't really make that argument, which is kind of concerning. But, and that kind of feeds into my next point. You have to have a good performance from CJ Stroud against the Chiefs, obviously. And it's not that he didn't play well the first time we played the Chiefs. That was honestly one of his better games. And to put that in perspective, he had two interceptions in the first half in that Chiefs game. And that was one of his better games this whole season. If you were to take that game against the Chiefs and compare it to rookie year CJ Stroud, you'd say that's a terrible game. And yeah, sure, fine, but we're not comparing that to 2023 CJ Stroud, right? We're not there yet. We're not there anymore, I should say. Excuse me. Well, we're comparing that to 2024 CJ Stroud. Unfortunately, his game has decreased a bit, and I still have all the faith in him. I still have all my CJ Stroud stock. I'm just saying that's the truth. In terms of this year, that game against the Chiefs was one of his best. And then unfortunately, I think his spirit just got broken in that Chiefs game. Why am I bringing this up? Because we weren't first round exits. And I think a big reason for how we were able to just overpower the Chargers is because, and this is again pertaining to CJ Stroud, a snap gets fumbled, he catches it, rolls right, throws it at Hutchinson, finds him, and it's a like 30-yard gain on a 3rd and 16. Like that to me, remember how I was talking about the moment, pointing at the moment when Dell gets injured? That CJ Stroud play, to me, you could point at that and say, hey, that's when CJ Stroud snapped back into rookie year CJ Stroud. That's when CJ Stroud started looking like himself again after that play. And I think that's extremely valid. And so that could be kind of an indicator that CJ Stroud maybe got some of his confidence back, maybe looks more excited, more happy to be playing football, right? Maybe he can bring that and play against the Chiefs, a team he's already had his best game, not his best, one of his best games on the season and had two interceptions. Maybe he erases those, it's a different game, right? So yeah, so that kind of those are my first 2 points: the offensive line, C.J. Stroud. The third point, just looking at the Chiefs receivers, look, Hopkins is not at the point anymore to where you have to like put Stingley on him the whole game and bracket him and just like if they're gonna beat us, it can't be through Hopkins. Like that's not him as a player anymore. He's still very good. He's still very solid. You would take him as your wide receiver two on the Texans any day of the week behind Nico Collins. That being said, he's just not the same wide receiver one that he was when he was in Houston. Still a great receiver. So I kind of like that being their deep threat. I don't hate Hopkins being that deep threat. However, Worthy and Hollywood Brown each had significant amount of production, a lot of production against the Chiefs. Going into that first Chiefs game, I was worried about Noah Gray and Travis Kelsey. My biggest fear was the tight ends. I felt like we could stop the run pretty well, and we did. And I just was really worried about the tight ends. They didn't have that much production. Um, Kelsey did. I'll get to that in a second. It was really the receivers, Hollywood Brown and Worthy. They're so fast. They're extremely fast. You have to jam them at the line. Reed's going to work his magic. Reed's going to get them open, but you just have to keep up with them. You have to put people over the top to protect the field because they are extremely fast. Worthy got Lassiter a couple times. They're probably going to look back at that matchup and try to work that out again. So, yeah, again, just can't be beat by speed. The tight end group, however, I felt like we locked down pretty well besides Kelsey. I mean, how many times in the first Chiefs game would you watch the game and Mahomes is in trouble? He's holding onto the ball too long, and then all of a sudden he just dumps it to Kelsey in the middle of the field and in the zone. And Kelsey just sitting there waiting, not even moving, not even running a route, just sitting there waiting, catches the ball in the middle of the zone. Like, yeah, that has to stop. You have to get You have to, and I'm sure D'Amico Ryans is doing all this, but you have to tell your linebackers that you got to watch out for Kelsey because he's invisible almost just in the middle of the field right there. So, and I guess finally, just the last thing I'll say about that last game is we stopped the run pretty well. I'm not sitting at this game like scared of Pacheco. I think we can stop the run really well, just like we did against the Chargers. The Chargers wanted to run the ball first. The Chiefs probably do to some extent, especially it being a playoff game, but I'm not afraid of their run game. I think we can stop them pretty well. I mean, one second. And so I guess some final comments that I'll make about this team is that our defense has proven several times, but really proven now in a playoff game that we are a Super Bowl caliber level defense, excuse me. Our defense is Super Bowl caliber level. Sorry, I can't say that. They're a defense that can take you to the Super Bowl. They showed that against Allen, who went 9 for 30. They've shown that against Goff, who threw 5 picks. Tua is not with them, but they made Tua look bad. And they made Herbert look bad, who a lot of people put up with those, quarterbacks. So this defense has the ability to carry you. Ironically, they didn't play that great against the Chiefs. I don't know how much of that is Andy Reid being Andy Reid or how much of that is just, hey, maybe you had a bad day. But I would bet on our defense to show up. What's going to decide this game is going to be, hey, man, how much pressure can we put on Mahomes? Because that was a big thing last game. We weren't able to put pressure on Mahomes. Hopefully we are now. I think we will. But the bigger thing in my eyes will be, can CJ Stroud have a vintage rookie year 2023 CJ Stroud game? Because if we lose, but we see a vintage CJ Stroud rookie year performance from him, I don't even think you can be that mad. Like if the offense plays well and the defense plays elite and you still lose because it's Mahomes and Andy Reid and you're at Arrowhead, that's fine. I just really want to see our defense be elite. I want to see our offense be better than they have been this year. I want to see CJ Stroud back to normal. I want to see Bobby Slowick calling another great game plan like he did against the Chargers, quick passes, make CJ Stroud a point guard, all of that. I want to see all of that so that we have a good chance to win this football game. And if ultimately we don't and it comes down to a last second field goal or it's close or whatever, that's fine. But I do think that we can make a lot more noise in this game than people are slating us out to. There's the rest equals rust factor. Mahomes hasn't thrown a pass since Christmas, so I don't see that as a huge deal. Some people do. But yeah, I mean, this is a good matchup. The Chiefs' Achilles heel this whole year has been their offensive line. Their offensive line not being good enough to protect Mahomes. And what has our strength been? Our front seven. We finally have a healthy front seven, our D line. So, yeah, I just really believe that we match up well with this team. Stingley's playing better than he ever has. Lassiter's playing amazing. Kalen Bullock had that one, miscue, but he's playing really well. So defense is going to give it to you. You hope they put more pressure on Mahomes than they have. If you could pressure him without blitzing, it'd be huge. And the offense just needs to play a good game. A good game similar to what they did last time. Hopefully there's no major injury that crushes our spirit. And hopefully Stroud doesn't throw 2 picks in the first half. But other than that, you match up really well against this team. The potential's there. And I really, really do think that we can make some noise and maybe make a run, especially if we can put up a great performance and get past these Chiefs. So that's all I got for this video, for this breakdown. I'll go more in depth into specific kind of areas I've sort of touched on in this video later on in the channel. So if you like that, just like and subscribe. Stick around for more content for sure. But that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think about this matchup. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And let me know kind of your thoughts and maybe some other video ideas if you want to talk more Texans. So that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one, man. Peace out. Go Texans.